Okay, so week 20, day 4, this is the last day of React before we switch to a new module. And today's focus is all about kind of wrapping it up and putting it in a nice Docker image, everything we've been working on, and deploying to AWS. So in our README today, it says we're going to start with this React app, but we're not going to. We're going to go ahead and make our own so we can kind of get a good review of some of the things we've been learning about, specifically routers, because I know there was a little bit of a deep dive into routers a little while ago, so it might have gotten a little confusing, but routers are super easy and very important to your app. So we're going to first start putting together a fresh app to go ahead and then pick back up with the lecture on Dockerizing. So I have here just my blank VS Code. I have Dockerize React app directory, and I've opened up my terminal, and we're just going to set up a new, oh, I should turn off this so we don't get beeps in the background if you hear them. Okay, we're going to set up a new React app. So we've been using I still don't know how to say that, Vite. I always say Vite. I don't know if it's Vitae or something fancy, but
Right, sounds good.
yeah. So we're going to create a Vite React app. We're going to name this, that's fine. We'll just name it Vite project. And it's going to be React. And we're going to use JavaScript. Okay. So we have this going on now. As we can see here, if we didn't remember what to do right away when we start our React app, it tells us now run all this. So we're going to follow their directions. We're going to change directory into that directory we just created. Run our install, which will install npm. And then we can run our app if we want to. But I know when we run our app, it's just going to pull up that, default React app page. So we're not even going to do that. I guess we could to make sure it's working. For good measure, we'll go ahead and make sure it's pulling up like we want it to. And we can see here, yes, okay. Everything's good. It's running locally. All good. Okay, so one of the best ways we can learn about routes, specifically, I'm gonna get out. No, that's fine. We'll let it run. In React is with a navigation bar. So like, most websites you go to will have a nice banner along the top that has like a home button, a about me or contact, all those little buttons on the top in a navigation bar that's persistent across all pages of that site. So it doesn't matter where you go, that nav bar is always there. This is a great way to learn how to use our routes. So first things first, I'm gonna come in here into my app. We have all this stuff that we don't need. That's just the default. I'm gonna remove it, make it easy. We're gonna take it down to these empty tags here. I don't want to have the state either. We're just cleaning up everything. So then a little bit nicer in here, easier to work with. Okay, we leave our main alone because that is the driver for everything. So first things first, I'm imagining I want to have a website that when I go to it, I'm going to have a main page with a navigation bar on it. So what's one of the first things I should do if I feel like I want to have this navigation bar that stays on everything? How's the best way to handle that?
Make a component, probably.
Yep, that sounds good. I will make a component, keep it separate, but still static, I guess. So our practice has been to make a new folder called components, just to kind of keep everything nice and organized within our app. And in here, I'm going to make a, let's see, nav bar component. Okay, so with this component, there's some really cool things. If I was looking at this earlier, you can come to React in your extensions and get snippets. So, I usually come into here and just copy and paste into the component, but if you download one of these extensions of snippets, a lot of times you can just do a shortcut that will pull up the boilerplate code for you. Looking at it though, it looks like most of these are, hang on, if we go to components, most of these are class components, but I did see some functional components. Was it in this one? But just something kind of interesting if you wanted to do this. I don't mind copying and pasting, but these sometimes are nice. Maybe it was in a different one I was looking at that had an easy. That has to go to, anyways. Kind of nice, and then you can just like they show here, you could do like the little shortcuts. CC gives a class component, but there's like it's like CFC, I think was what I saw, will bring up a functional component. Something extra if you wanted to look into that, but I'm just gonna go ahead and copy and paste, and we'll just read. Oh my gosh, what did I do? Oh, I collapsed it. It was a little early. A little early. Okay. Just gonna copy and paste this.
You want to make sure to make the, oh, never mind. It's turning it into a JSX.
I mean, it says
Oh, yep,
TS next to
exactly.
it.
Thank you. Okay, and so this is our navbar component. We're gonna name it navbar component. And we're gonna export that too. You can also put it all in one line. I don't remember the code snippet for that. I'd have to look it up. So we have our navbar component. Gosh, I don't know how to make a nice navbar because I'm not great at CSS and all that jazz. And it seems a little tedious to go ahead and work out a navbar. So I'm actually just going to bootstrap this. We learned about our third-party libraries, and I don't want to waste time trying to make this component. So I'm going to come over to components and just look for navbars. So cool. Here's a navbar, and looks pretty nice. Nice and easy with a little drop down that we could do something with. I don't think we're going to do anything with the drop down today, but we're going to go ahead and I'm going to grab this whole code snippet. Actually, since I don't want to do a drop down, look, it says live editor. Let's remove this drop down. There. Perfect. We can see using this live editor. That's nice how it changes the result. So I'm gonna grab this whole thing. And actually, so I didn't even need, if we look, it gives me the function and the export default. I didn't even have to set up the boilerplate on this component because I'm just going to overwrite it with what I pulled from Bootstrap. Yay, saved me so much time. And I bet it looks really cool now as well without any CSS styling on my own. Go ahead and get rid of that because I'm not using the drop down anymore. Awesome. I don't like this called basic example though. We're going to rename it to navbar component. Okay. So here's my navbar. Let's take a look at it. Let's just throw it in here to see how this is looking. Oh, I didn't do the tabby, so it didn't. Oh, it did. Okay, up there. Okay, we're gonna save that. Let's pull up the. Why did it not work? Failed to resolve Bootstrap. Does it exist?
You have to import Bootstrap or something?
Did I? Or container? Failed. Okay, let's look. Do we even use container? I don't know if we do. Let's go ahead and just take it out because I don't think any. Oh, Bootstrap. We do have to. You're right. You're right. You said.
Install it?
Yeah. Let's. Okay, so here's Bootstrap. We got to get started. I'm like, let's see. Okay, so I need to do my npm install, and then I need to import, and then I can import whatever. So let's come back to the terminal. We'll shut this down, or actually I could pull a new one up. Where am I at? Let's get back into the project because we want it to come within this node modules folder here where all of our dependencies live. We're going to install, I'm copying and pasting, React Bootstrap Bootstrap. Okay, so let's see if I made it in there. What is it called? React Bootstrap. Oh my gosh, so many dependencies. React Bootstrap, good, made it in there. So we are good to go, should be. Let's look and see if anything, and this is still messing up. Let's refresh maybe our page. Okay, so it looks like it's not complaining anymore, but I'm not seeing it pull up. Maybe I did need the. We're going to save that. We have to bootstrap home link. Well, I thought I'd save some time bringing in. I mean, Navbar. Why do you look crazy? Anybody got any suggestions? Let's try. Components, navbar component. We have container.
Is it throwing an error?
No, it just looks weird. Wait, let's take out this. App.css maybe. There's CSS. See if that helps. Let's do half and half so we can see what's going on. Okay, that did not help. Let's go to the index. That was even worse. Ah, okay. Let's put it back. Navbar, you are not behaving like you should be. I'm pulling back up the component that I'm using here. Hmm. Lord, I don't know why you look like that. I don't think this will help, but we're just gonna do this anyways. If this doesn't work, we'll just create our own. No.
You try going back to the CSS app.css.
Uh, logo. I feel like it'd be in the, let's see, because we have a class name here. I don't think that's over. Let's see.
Could be the body or the root.
Is there a specific way to import this nav bar from Bootstrap? Because in the getting started, it says importing components. You should import individual components. Then it gives you an example.
Yeah, so that's what this
That's what
is.
nav is? Okay.
And so the nav bar is the first thing we did for our outside tags here. It's not going to be doing anything. Nav bar container. Get rid of the container. No.
Yeah, I think something in the styling is making it centered.
Yeah. Something. Probably yeah, something with the body.
You go to comment out. Yeah, try that. Or you make this, there you go.
Maybe not flex either. No. This should be. Okay, so next up, I'm going to look in here and see if there's like a header thing. No. Let's see if this maybe looks better than my fancy nav bar. But we might have the same problem. It got better, it got to the top. Yeah, let's see if we can just.
What if you comment out the center and root? It's like pound root.
Root, you said there's center.
There's another root as well.
It goes in app.css.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, this one, text align center. Okay, well, let's take out this, none of this matters because that was with all the original stuff. Um, what are you doing? What are you doing? Button. Button. That didn't work. We're struggling with the styling. All right.
Hey, Tiffany, I'm trying to do this along with, so I'm kind of missing a couple things that are being said, but I was looking on chat and it said sometimes you need to import the Bootstrap CSS. Have you done that?
I have not. Maybe we could do that in our main component here.
It said usually you need to put it in like index.js or app.js.
Okay, let's
Seems
find
great.
that. I'm trying to pull up, so import. Style sheets, maybe.
Following line can be included in your source index.js, your app.js file, and it's an import bootstrap / dist. I'll drop it in the here.
Yep, I got it from their
Thank you.
documentation. Thank you. Okay, so
And is it still trying to read app.css?
there's nothing in app. We
Oh, I
can
see.
maybe let's remove index, or let's put it in. Yeah, let's remove index. Okay, that looks better. Let's see. Yep, there we go. So now it's blinding, but that's okay. At least it works. We could probably find how to change this dark screen, but we'll just kind of blind for a minute here. So okay, wow, all that. Yes, we had to read the documentation better and see where it said that we should put that in for the CSS, the style sheets. Some style sheet is required to use these components. There we go. Reading. Good finds. Okay, so we got our component now. That took way longer maybe than it would have just creating our own, but that's okay. So let's put this back on the side here. And remember it's flex or whatever, so everything's gonna go underneath, but it's still side by side. So now let's come back to, actually gonna do this. So we have this nav bar. We put it on our main page here, and I mean, it looks good, but when we click these things, nothing happens. And we can see that in this component, we have some links here, which says home and link, but we're not actually targeting anything. So, you know, like in Django, with our Django REST framework, we have endpoints. We have different URLs we can visit for those endpoints. We want to do the same kind of thing here. We want to make a home page, which can be a component or a separate page. And we want this link page, we want to be able to have a URL assigned to it that we can put in here as a link. Because right now, there's no way, like we can, let's make these. I'm going to come under source, not file. We're going to do a folder. Now I'm going to have pages, because this is where I'm going to put like homepage. And I'm going to have a link page. This again, just to kind of keep everything nice and separate. We have our components, which are reusable bits, snippets that we can put all over our app. But now I want to just have pages in a nice, easy, you know, organized place where I can visit and know these are going to be the pages that the user sees, instead of having to throw everything in the app.jsx. So let's see, this one will be called link.jsx. Awesome. So let's just put this together real quick too. We're gonna make these pages real fast. This will be called home. So now let's take this out, because we're going to look at how we lay this all out in a second. Okay, and our link page. Okay, so I have 2 pages now that we can link to. And how we do that in React is, like you've touched on before, is browser router. So right now, there's no way to establish a URL for any of these pages unless we do browser router for it. And you got thrown into a lot of different in-depth things behind browser router, but it's actually super simple to work with. First thing we're going to do, let's see, I might have to install something here because I don't think I have React Router DOM. But I'm going to throw in this import statement real quick. See how that looks. Okay, so I need to npm install that. What is going on there? Okay, this will go away for a minute. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, let's just fresh new one. Okay. We'll change directory into the project, and then let's try React router DOM. Okay, cool. So that looks like it did something. And when I save this, it looks like it's not complaining anymore. So we've got this new dependency that we've put in here. We can see I'm importing browser router, routes, route, and link. So a whole bunch of different components for this. Right now, I want to be able to assign paths, URLs for these other pages we will eventually visit. So for browser router, we need to wrap everything in a browser router tag. Let's pull this out and put it inside the tag. Okay, so we want everything inside it. Just so that it can, let's see, if we pull it up, I did pull it up earlier. In React routers, we have a whole bunch of different information here on like how to pick a router, which ones are best to use and all that, and you can read in your own time. We use browser router, and it says that it stores the current location using clean URLs and navigates using the browser's built-in history stack. So this is the one we use, and it kind of shows you initially how to set it up. You put browser router on the outside of everything that you're going to render in your app. Okay, so I start with the browser router tags, and then I'm putting everything within those tags. The nav bar goes within it, even though I'm not assigning a route per se to this nav bar, because so what do you think happens if I just put nav bar right here? Well, okay, let's come back to that. Let's build some routes first. So if we look at our little example here, we can see that it does browser router, and then we have routes, and then we have route path. And that's kind of the structure of router, browser router. So I'm going to follow that documentation example, and underneath the navbar component, I'm going to make routes now. And within routes, we nest a route. Okay. Now, the documentation said route has a path. And if we do this, tab over, because it said route question mark, it expects something within here. Does anybody know what this path is and what it means?
Isn't that the like endpoint?
Yes, correct. That is the URL endpoint, if you will, of where we want how we want the URL to look within our browser. So we've already decided we want a home page and we want a link page. A home page that should be the first thing we come across, right? Kind of like I'm trying to make links back to Django, but I can't. But so this is going to be the default where we land when we visit this page. So then I'm just going to put a slash. Okay. So anytime somebody comes to our page, visits the base URL, if you will, I want it to go to home. So we have our path here. How do I tell it where I want it to go when you visit this path? Does anybody know how to do that?
Is it element equals?
Correct. Yep, we have this element. Oh, let's put this back. So I'm just doing like React does, where you can use the closing tag all within instead of having the two opening and closing tags. So that's what I'm doing here, just FYI. But we can do, it doesn't want to fill it in for me, that's fine. Element equals, and then we do curly brackets, and we put in the component that we want this to go to. Okay, so our pages, we've called them pages, but they're still components. So I want this to go to the home component. So now I've told my whole website that whenever people visit this path, bring them to this component, our home component. So then this is what will pop up. So we'll do the same with our, let's see, so if we looked at our nav bar, we have a home and then we have a link. And we'll come back to this in a second because we see these placeholders right now. Okay, we know when we put a reference in here, a link reference, that we need to have a full URL usually. So we will address that after we set up our paths here. Okay, so with our next route, we have another route, path to link. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure we should just call this link. That might be easiest. Name it after the component they're going to. So like a contact us or, yeah, link or users or whatever you want to do. So that will be that one. And it's going to route us to link. I hope this doesn't bite us the way this is named, but we'll see. And I'm missing the closing tag. Okay. So we have our two paths. We have defined these URLs. So if anybody visits this URL, they will get onto home. If anybody visits this URL, and this is our base plus this appending of URL. So if it's like www.urlibot.com, that brings us here. If we do url.com/link, that'll bring us to our link page. Any questions so far on how I set up this browser router and these routes and what they mean? No questions? Okay, so why do I have this nav bar out here? Why is it not, I don't have it in a route?
Because it's a component, it's not a page, right?
Yeah, but I mean, so our pages are components in essence. But yes, this is not somewhere I'm having users visit individually. Doesn't need its own URL or endpoint. So I don't need to route it. What happens when I put it up here instead of maybe somewhere else? Like within, what if I put it in the home component instead?
It'll only render it when you go to home, right? Instead of all the time.
Yep, exactly. So this is still going to be this app, JSX page, is still going to be persistent across your entire website, if you will. So anything you put in this base app.jsx file will show up all the time on your website. So I want this nav bar to be persistent across all pages. I don't want it to only show up when I visit home or only when I visit link. I want it to be there all the time. So I pull it out and put it up here so that it is. Now you can do it differently if you want stuff that is just, you don't want anything that is persistent across all, then you can definitely nest it within one of these other components, but awesome. So we're almost there. So we set up these paths for these different components that we want to go to. But when I come to my site here, what is it complaining about? Mirror an app. Let me just save this and see if it clears up. Home. Oh, we didn't import these. That's what it's complaining about. So it's sometimes smart and pulls in the components you want it to, but other times it does not. So we can import home. We're going to import link. So now let's save, and now it should be happy or not. Let's refresh and see what it's complaining about now. It's taking a moment. Are we exporting? Yep. I am impatient. I'm gonna kill this.
Your link import isn't the page, it's from React router up at the top.
The what? I'm sorry. What?
The import link,
Mhm.
the link page. It's
Oh, thank you. I just pushed tab without even watching. Okay, so we wanted to, I knew it would bite us in the butt at some point. Okay, this is link. Okay. Come on, let's refresh and see. No, link has already been declared. Let's rename it. I think this is messing up everything. About this. Then we'll come over here and we'll rename. Sorry for leading you astray. Sometimes this happens. You start using something that is a clashes with some module or library you're pulling in. So good practice. Okay, I think I've renamed everything. That should be renamed. Cool. Interesting. That's fine. Okay, so here's the website. It's happy again. We have our nav bar, we have home and link. So we can see when we click on home, it brings us to this #home URL, or pound home. Which if we go back to our component here, we can see that is the link we've told it to go to. But we have identified routes or new URLs, which will bring us to a home component. So instead of when I click this link bringing us to /home, I'm going to tell this link to just bring us to just the slash, because that is what we said will bring us to the home element. Okay, so in my component here, I've said go to this location, and then React will go, okay, that location means bring her to home. And it should bring us to home then when we click on it. So let's go ahead, let's fill out home so we know it's actually bringing us somewhere. This is the home page. And then we're going to do that here too. So we can see it working. Oh my goodness. This is the About Us page. Okay. Let's pull up. And if people are messaging me, oh, it was Jordan. Never mind. Okay, so, oh, look at that. Hang on. Let's go back to the beginning here. So we've already told in our links there that anytime anybody goes to just the base URL, to go ahead and show us the home page. Okay, that's why this is good. And when we click here, why does it do that? Oh, because I have that down here. I'm gonna put that here as well. The slash. Okay. Oh, and we told that here. The that's the main bootstrap button, I guess, is what brings us home to. So we could click this to bring us home, or we could click this to bring us home. That's what this nav bar does. That's why there's these two links, if you will. So now this link one, we got to set this up now, which we said that was going to go to /link. I'm going to change that. And then I got to come over here and we're going to change that to About Us. So now when I visit, click the button, which will route us to About Us. React comes back and says, okay, anybody visiting this path About Us will go to this component here, which will be the About Us page. So let's bring back up our app. Let's go home first. Home works, that works. Now link. We've still got it called link, but it's routing us to About Us URL, and it brings us to the About Us page component. Okay, so almost done. What if I have a button here? Or, well, it doesn't need to be a button. What if I just have a link? And I want it to go to some other page. Let's say extras right here. We're going to close link. This might not be the right, because it's importing. I don't know if I want it to import. We'll see if this works. And this is to go to the extra page. Let's make sure this is rendering. Okay, so now I have this link. I've added a link that's only showing on the home page. It's not in this navigation bar that's persistent across all, because see, we come here, it's gone. It's only on my home page. When I click this, I want to go to extras. How can I do this now? Where do I manage this? To tell it to give me a component when I visit this extras link.
Are we able to add like a path equals or something inside the thing or no?
So you might be able to, but React Router is super nice and contained and easy, and I can literally just come back here and throw another path in. Doesn't have to be like connected, if you will. As we could see, this navbar component is completely separate from our routes we are identifying on our app.jsx page. So we can just throw every route you're going to use in your app into this list on this page. So that's what we'll do here. Of course, we don't have a component set up to path it to, so we're just going to path it to a component that exists because we're lazy. And it's just for, so we've said this is going to go to an extras URL. Oops. And we're going to tell it to go to, so we'll just have it go to about us. Oh, got to do the component. I want it to go to the component. Okay. So all routes you want to make, you can just have a huge list of different paths in your app and what component or page you wanted to render. And you can just keep adding it, and you can keep linking to it. I mean, just using links in regular as you would regularly in your HTML. Just to say, okay, this link is going to go to this URL. But here is where we tell how React grabs that URL or grabs that component for that URL. Does that make sense? So if we save that and we come back and we're on our home page and we've told it when we click this button, this has a path sending us to /extras. And it's gonna, when I click this button, it's gonna bring us to the URL /extras. And we've told it React has to route us to this component when we click that, when we go to this URL. Okay. Any questions or any other linking scenarios you want to kind of visit? So don't worry about all the extra in-depth stuff you learned the last time, as long as you just have this down, how you set all your URLs /endpoints, however you want to think about them, in your React app, then this is all that matters. Okay, so I'm going to remove that last thing here just because it's doesn't look nice. So we've got our app. We're pretending it's finished and it's very pretty and everything works very well. Well, actually, it doesn't even have to work very well. You know, when you're working on your projects, you want to, I'm pretty sure Jordan and everybody else has told you, deploy early and deploy often. You want to, even though it seems like you don't want to push broken things out there, it helps kind of save it, and so you don't lose a ton of your work, and you can always overwrite it and or revert back to previous versions, because in Docker Hub, it will save all your previous images as well, your versions, when you push the same to the same image over and over. So don't be worried about, oh, if I push this, it's going to ruin everything I've worked on so far because I don't think it's working very well. No, you can always go back and use a previous version. So now we're getting to where today's lecture picks up. We're going to Dockerize this and deploy it. We will start with Dockerizing. So first things first, does anybody remember what server we use for front-end deployment? Because we need a server, right? Back when we started learning HTML, CSS, and all that, we just used live server in VS Code to kind of see what it was doing in the browser. And now, obviously, React has its own kind of built-in server for local development because we can see stuff real time. But this is not what you want to use in the real world. You don't want to use this dev component of React. So,
Was it 8,000?
Sorry, what was that?
8,000? Port 8,000? Is that what we're talking about?
So port 8000 is usually where our backend is listening on,
Oh, okay.
like Django.
The 5454, or was it 32?
Was that Postgres? I think that's our Postgres database. I'm just looking for the name of the image we're probably going to start, because every Docker component we do, we usually start with a base image, right? For our backend, we start with Python because that's what we built Django off of. It's a Python language. So for our front end server, we have an image, we have a server we're going to use that we're going to pull from Docker Hub.
Oh, that was Nginx.
Yes, that's what I'm looking for. We're going to use the Nginx image on Docker Hub, which is, I'm going to pull it open here. Here is official documentation. So this is a great server that we use for our front end for handling all of the traffic that we get from the client and routing it to the backend. So we can look, there's a lot of information here. We can see how to use this image. So we can simply just run it, but we're going to use a Docker file because that's what we're used to doing, right? We like to set up a Docker file that we can, so we don't have to remember a command to run over and over again. We can just do a Docker build. So let's use this. That's coming from the Docker file or from the image itself, example, and pull it into our application and start working with it. So I have my project here. Where do I put my Docker file?
In the root folder, which would be Vite project.
Yep, exactly. Oh gosh, no, I don't want to keep. So let's stop this as well because I don't want it running while I'm doing all this. Let's take a look where we're at. Looks like we are in that root. I mean, we saw that here, but I'm also just making extra sure. So let's make our Docker image or a Docker file. All right, Docker file. And we're going to paste in what we pulled from the Nginx image itself. So this says from that Nginx image, we're going to copy this into here. What is this referring to? No idea. So we can kind of see that it says static HTML directory. May have forgotten by now, but React is just a library that helps us with front-end development, and front-end is usually our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? So what happens with React when we're getting ready to deploy or to, I guess, Dockerize this and deploy it is we're going to have to transform this into those static files, the static HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files that the client expects. So this static HTML directory is just saying, take these static HTML, CSS, JavaScript files and put it into this location in the Nginx image. And this is just where it goes. That's where it expects it to be. So how can we get this, like all of this into just 3 files, basically, for us to use? What we have to do is we have to run npm run build. Okay, so this build is going to tell React I'm done. Go ahead, take everything I've worked on, compress it down into those static files for me to go ahead and use on the front end. So it's going to do all this stuff, and it's going to make this dist folder here. When we look at this, there's actually not much to it. We can see there's an index.html, and we look into assets. There's a CSS, which has a whole bunch of stuff pushed together. Thank you, React, for doing this for us. And then the JavaScript file. So we have our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files within this dist directory. And that is after we run npm run build. So that's what takes everything you've worked on and just makes the nice little output for us. So this says we want to copy those static files into here. So how we can do that? How do we target this directory?
/dist.
Correct. So we're going to grab in this current directory I'm in, which is this dot, we're going to look at the dist directory and grab everything in there and put it in this location. And the README says, seems too easy. It is. To go ahead and Dockerize React is actually really easy because it makes it so easy, puts everything right there for us. We put it in here. So once we can do that, we can test this locally first by creating the image locally. So we're going to go ahead and run a Docker build. And I'm taking these from the README now. So if you want to follow along there with the code snippets too, we're going to Docker build and we're going to give it a tag name of React server. And we're going to take everything from the current Docker file location there. So once I do that, could not open Docker file. Am I not in the right location? I am. Oh, this is outside, isn't it? It's outside of the root. Yes, move it into the project, please. There, now it's not outside. Let's try again. There, now it found our Docker file because I told it to look within this directory and grab the Docker file from there to build this image. So now our image should be running. Let's take a look at Docker images. Or it's not running, it's built. We can see this image now is available locally, called React Server. So now we can run it. Again, just taking this from the README. So here I am running and I'm doing a port mapping. Can anybody tell me what this port mapping looks like it's doing?
Just taking anything that comes into that 8090 and sending it to the 80. As simple as that.
Yes, correct. So the 80 is, where is that located? What port is listening, or is our local machine or the Docker image listening on port 80?
8090, the local.
Correct, yep. So 8090 is our local and 80 is what this Docker image is listening on. So because your local machine usually has stuff going on port 80 because it is the standard HTTP listener, we're not going to use 80 on our local machine just because there could be a clash with other services running at that time. So we're going to use an obscure port that we don't think we'll have any issue with and go ahead and say, listen on this port here on my local machine and transfer all that to port 80 within the Docker image. And we are going to run the React server. That's the name we gave it. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, it says it's running on port 8090. Let's open in browser. And it popped up on my other screen, but we can see, awesome, it's all there. Ooh, except the pathing doesn't work. You might have to look into that. Let's see if our README says anything about that. It doesn't today. Okay, so I think you're gonna go more into this next week with the full stack and deploying Dockerizing and deploying next week with the full stack. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this right now, but you will review this next week. These pathways, I don't know if you remember back, I think you may have done this with the deploying for the Django, but these routes are kind of just for our local I guess, how can I explain this? These are not going to, like, we don't have a base URL defined to build these off of at this point. So it should work though, I feel. But I think it has to do with the pathing here. That's something I will need to look into. Because as we see, when I click link and about us, it says it is not found. Oh, I can't look at the components. It's a 404. I kind of want to see where it tried to go. I mean, it went there, but it's not found. Okay, that will take a little more looking into here on my end. It's something with the pathing and the routers. I will get back to y'all on that, I promise. Oh, yeah, it's probably because we're using browser router. It works with hash router, but you're not supposed to really use hash router as much. Here, let me go ahead and show you how it works with the hash router. Can I Docker stop? Can't remember.
Does your extras button work to go to that same page? Because mine does. If I go to home and I press on the two extras, it goes to the About Us page, like we have it. Oh, you don't have that extras in the route.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm just wondering why this one then didn't. From, let's see, it was the nav bar then. It might be this link here. So it looks like regular link to works then, is what you're saying? Because we did a link to for the extra link, but the nav link isn't working very well.
Yeah, that's got to be it. Because how is it getting to home? Let's see here. It's getting to home via just the path, right? When you go down to your drop down, you click on home, it's just using the route path / to go to home, correct?
So
It's not using that nav.link to go to home.
well, it is right here. So it didn't give me
Because that's the only difference I can think of is that well, huh.
oh, that works. It's just whenever we have an append on the end there. That's weird.
Yeah, because I can show you the difference on mine if you want to see it, just because I have that extras set up.
Yeah, let's go ahead and
I don't think it's much of a difference, but
let me stop
just so you can visually see it.
sharing here. Ugh. Where is my, okay, go ahead and take on over.
All right, so yeah, so we have the paths, right? You
Mhm.
got your about us, and then I have that extras here in the path, which helps for here because I mean I'm on the home page, right? I went to home page extras. It goes to the about us because it's linked.
Yeah.
Which I don't have. Actually, maybe it's not using this because I don't have an extras thing there. So it's using this path
Yeah.
here,
So
which
I'm
is
wondering,
using the
bizarre. I don't know why it's not working on the about us.
yeah.
It should. All things we're looking at here, it should, because we have
Never
that
actually,
path.
yeah. So this is going, it says extras,
Yeah.
but it goes to the about us.
Right, because we told it to.
Right.
I
So
just don't know
extras.
why the slash. I wonder, put if you, oh, we'd have to rebuild the image. But I was thinking if we put a slash home instead of just the base URL, if that would also show some things messing up.
You want to rebuild it then? Forgot how to do
Well,
that.
I don't want to take up too much time on this. This is kind of the nitty-gritty troubleshooting you'd have to do.
Okay.
If you're using something, I feel it's something with that specific component that we brought in from Bootstrap.
This,
Yeah,
these nav links.
possibly. But then again, when we click on the home link, it doesn't error out, so it's
Yeah,
fine.
I just wonder if it's because it's strictly using this path to go to the page about us and like not even using this. Oops.
Yeah, it's not using a nav link, it's just using a link to
Right.
extras.
Link, yeah. Link to extras. Extras goes to here, right? Then this path goes to here about us. So it's like it's
Yeah.
going from here to here to here.
Right. Which the nav bar should be doing the same thing because it's just using nav link instead of
Right. But in
link.
this nav bar, is the home using this? It's got to be because it's in the nav bar.
Right. I don't know. Something with that. I would probably, if I were troubleshooting this, I'd take out the nav link and just use a, well, you
A
have to
link.
use so in the example for the README today, it might be also how browser router works, the way it stores the routes, the paths. Because hash router is what's used in today's dummy React app in the README.
And what's the negatives about using hash router? Because that's also what was used to import on Gmo's day. Was that 2 days ago? 3 days ago?
Let's see. So
Wednesday.
hash router, it's if you visit the if you want to, I'll stop sharing.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
share again. Let's see, share this other.
Because that was a difference too between the Saturday and then the Gmo showing us
Yes.
everything.
So when we visit our React router page, that shows us all the routers we can use. On hash router, it says, we strongly recommend you do not use this unless you absolutely have to. So, but we're probably using it when the URL should not or cannot be sent to the server for some reason. So this may be what's happening with the Docker image. Maybe somehow the URL is not being sent to the server like it should be. So this router makes it possible to store that current location in the hash portion of the current URL so it is never sent to the server. So it's just a different way of pathing. I'm not going to say I 100% understand this, but everything I've seen, and I think that you will probably use in the future here, use hash router instead of the browser router, which is the same layout. Same layout. So don't get like, oh no, I need to learn a new thing. No, just instead of browser router, change it to hash router and import that instead. I guess let's go ahead and rebuild this real fast then. Hash router. Since I don't, what is the command to stop my image? Docker. We did Docker run. Let's see. I don't have these all memorized. Okay, Docker. Docker stop and then the name. Nope. Oh, is it the ID? I thought y'all use Docker a lot here. No such container.
Well, we use Docker Compose. This is different though, right?
Yeah.
Docker Compose down is how you bring it down, but that's Docker Compose.
Uh, Docker. Why this should not be this hard. I just did a Docker run. And I thought it was just a Docker. Okay. Okay, let's do this one. That's probably where I need to stop it. That's right, because that's the Docker image. Okay, so I was trying to stop the image, but the image is just an image that's built on the local machine. This is the instance. This container is the instance of that image running. So that is, let's see, Docker. There. That's where I was getting messed up. Apologies. Okay, so we're gonna just, okay, I changed. Not using browser router. We're gonna use hash router. I also don't even use.
Did you bring it down already?
Yes.
Because I mean, ChatGPT says in the nav.link, it says nav.link space as equals curly braces link space and then to wherever you want it to go to. Because it says that the, uh, the the issue with your current code is that nav.link component is using a regular A tag. And we need to use link tags with React router.
Oh, that makes sense because I just pulled in from Bootstrap, which is just like regular HTML, not thinking about
Yeah,
React
I
router.
remember as either Gmo or Jordan mentioned the fact that we need to use link tags, not hrefs.
Got it. Yep, that makes 100% sense. Okay, so you said it was navlink.
Yeah, I can post it in the chat if you want.
Yep, that sounds good.
Chat. There you go.
There's one. There it is. Okay. So as so we do use link.
Yeah, I guess that's the learning point here is when you're using React router, you have to use link.
Yeah, link for everything. You can't use, that's why I use link to on the other page. I didn't even think about using it here. Link to, and then we're going to do, okay. I'm just going to copy this second one here real quick, and then we'll try. Okay. So, okay, we're good. So we have as a link. We're using this one as a link to that place. Okay. Let's rebuild and see if this will work. So we're going to, of course, I don't have that here. Pull up the code snippet. Docker build T. I don't know. I swore that's what I typed out, but I guess I messed it up somehow. And now we will run. And so why did I rebuild the image? Does anybody know?
Because you made changes, so you had to rebuild it. And it's not like we're doing Docker Compose where you could do the migrate, right?
Yeah, so our Docker file said like when we run Docker build, it goes ahead and looks at this Docker file and copies everything from there into there. If we don't rebuild after changes, it's going to use that old code because there's nothing we've told it to do to update that. So that's why we're running build again. So it reruns this Docker file and says, oh, okay, oh, it's not going to work. Why is it not going to work?
Because we need that static file first.
So let me see. It may work, but I feel like we need to rerun the build. Let's pull it up without and see if it's changed. Because I can't remember. I can't remember if React is smart enough to redo these static files for us, or if we have to rebuild it on the React side as well. So we're gonna see though. Doesn't take us all but 2 seconds to do this. So let's go ahead and run it, open in the browser. Yep, so you have to rebuild because look, it still has link, and I changed that name to About Us in the code. So we'll go ahead and there we go. You can control C that too. Because if we come here, we see I changed that to About Us, but we never ran that npm run build to redo this dist directory. So now we've built it. It's went ahead and made the changes to those files for us. So now we can rebuild our image to get those changes put back onto the Docker image. And now we can run it. And this is why we make that nice little script. So to go ahead and do all this for us to just
.sh file.
Yeah. Instead of doing each of these separately. Okay, let's open it up. Oh, are you kidding me? Hang on. I didn't not update. Because it still has link. Oh, I did. This is an issue before. We're going to destroy the image. Oh, Docker. Let's make sure there's nothing running. Okay. Move all Docker images. Need to save this code snippet. Docker IO. Let's delete all images. Do this. So I just found this on the internet. We'll see if it works. Looks like it's going to do a force removal of all the images. Okay.
I think it's like Docker image prune. I don't know if it gets rid of all of them.
Is that a thing? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So I'm gonna do this all again just to make sure everything's as it should be. That one should be fine. Okay. And go back and do the Docker image. And then we're going to run it. Okay, please be the updated. It is. Had an issue. This stinking Docker image. Okay, so now it's updated. Let's see if this works. Yay, it does. Way to go, Sean, for having that little tidbit and my oversight in remembering that.
Old AI helped.
Yeah. Well, actually, so you notice mine looks a bit different if you look at the URLs. It is because I had changed it to hash router before we started this backup. So that is what hash router does, is it puts in that little pound sign there. But I'm sure it would work even if I didn't have hash router, now that we changed the A tags to the link to. Okay, so that image is working, and we know that it is. I'm gonna shut it down here. Next step in our README is that we need to go ahead and get this into Docker Hub, because this image right now is only on my local machine. Nobody else can use it because I have it here. So if you're not already logged into Docker Hub, you need to do your Docker login, which will then prompt you for your username and password. I am already logged in, but I can do it again. I just need to pull up my information because I never remember it. So let's do Docker login. Oh, I've already got it up and it says good job. Okay. So once you have signed in, I forget my username, so I've got to sign in real quick. Because if we remember, we need to name our images with our username first for it to go to our Docker Hub. Okay, Tiffany Joel is my username on that. Okay, so going back to the README, we push it up to our Docker Hub by using this command. There's a couple. First, we're going to tag, we already named our previous image React server. So we're pulling it up. We're saying take the image that's tagged React server, and then we're going to rename it to your username / React server so that it gets it into the right place in Docker Hub. Again, this is probably all in your scripts, but we're breaking it down so we fully understand what we're doing in those scripts instead of just running the sh file. So here I am taking that tag, name image, and then renaming that image to Tiffany Joel, which is my username for Docker Hub / whatever I want to name this image. So we do that. So now if we look Docker images, we have a new image here that's named what we just told it to name. We're then going to push that to our Docker Hub. We're going to push, just kind of like Git, we're gonna push it, React. And this is telling it to grab this specific image here, React server, and push it. And now it is pushing that to my Docker Hub with that name. So in a minute here, if we come back to my Docker Hub and I refresh, we see the new React server image that we pushed less than a minute ago. And we can see here, we just have latest, but if you were to keep deploying or keep building and pushing to Docker Hub, you would see more versions here. And that is how you can kind of revert back if you messed something up. So let's go to one of my, let's see what would be a good one. I think we did for our group a lot of pushes, maybe. Not a lot, but we can see here all these different versions of the same image that was pushed up. So by default, you'll usually pull the latest one if you don't specify, but you can always pull earlier versions that you were working on to work off of. And then you can rewrite over top of that and push something else out. All right, any questions with this part here that we just went through, pushing our image up to Docker Hub. If not, we are going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we'll look at putting this in an EC2 instance on Amazon. All right, so I will pause recording.